The G7, just for you non-G70 people, is, I believe, is the United States, Canada, Japan, France, Germany, and I believe Italy. I think that's the G7. I think Italy is a basket case. France gives a lot of help to their industries, like EDF and stuff like that. Germany has been a powerhouse, but it's been a powerhouse based on cheap Russian gas. The United States is retooling itself. It's building chip factories, it's moving stuff back. Japan's been a basket case for 30 years, but they're still big. Canada, huge natural resources. Population spurt. Good demographics, comparative. America's got good demographics. France, Italy, UK, and Japan have got bad demographics. What that means is the number of older people, like us baby boomer types, is marched through. We've marched through the working time when we used to be at work. And we're now in the retirement phase. And it's like an inverted pyramid. And the number of younger people in the country is less. If we get more immigration in, we can widen that base. If they can get jobs, that is. So that you can tax them, pay for the pensions and the health services for the bigger numbers who are older. I'll take a bet now, and I'll give 10 to 1 that Britain sustainably isn't the highest growth in the G7 in 2029. It's pretty easy, really. I've got 6 other horses. Britain's only got a 15% chance of winning if they're all level. When do you start it off? When are you going to start off the measurement? When's it from? We're going to find a low point, so that, yeah, our growth's more, our 1.5% or 2% a year, whatever it happens to be. Who's going to measure it? Can you see the difficulty? He says it's got to be sustained. It's kind of just be growth on a graph. Okay. He says, and it kind of be gamed by clever statistics. You kind of statisticize your way out of it. You kind of game your way out. You kind of take this out and put that in. Like what they do with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. Does include taxes. If your taxes go up, CPI doesn't change. What? Well, that's taking money out of your pocket. Surely it must go. No, doesn't include. If your council tax goes up, which nearly everybody's is going to go up by at least 5% in April when they redo it, that doesn't change the CPI. Huh? So if nothing changed, but you got taxed more and the CPI was more, and everything else remained the same, CPI wouldn't show going up, but you would have less money. Game the system, statistics, CPI, it's just blatant. Now he says, not kind of the clever static, is the clever messing about, clever statistics. It says the growth has got to be stuff that makes people better off. Okay, how are we measuring it? where you're measuring it from, blah, 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 blah. It's got to be growth for everybody, not just for a few select people, like them people in Mayfair in London, or the people in London compared with the rest of the country. It's got to be spread all over the country. And the second yardstick, so he's still using the imperial system here. He hasn't went metric. He's not using the metric stick. He's using the yardstick. The second yardstick, it's got to be powered by good jobs. Oh, that's a nice bland term. What's a good job? Different people have different views of what good jobs are. Some people think any job's a good job. Other people think 0-hour contracts, that's not a good job. People think, well, I can work from home, that's a good job. What's a good job? What's a well-paid job? Is a minimum wage job a well-paid job? Is a minimum wage job that you only work 16 hours a week a good job? What's a good job? It's nebulous. It's just bland. And needs to be strong productivity. Strong productivity. Needs to be strong productivity to make it. In the whole country, not just in London. Not just the Cockney lads working and getting loads of money. It's got to be all over. It says building blocks. We've got to unlock the potential of every person in the UK. Heard it all before from just about every politician. Apprenticeships. Apprenticeships. When I was younger in different places, big companies used to take on lots of young lads down on Teesside, places like that, British Steel in Drafton or ICI. We take on electricians and tiffies, instrument people, fitters, Becky fitters. We put them through apprenticeships because they had big plants and knew that they needed to have people on an ongoing basis. Knew that there would be leakage, some people would leave, some people would retire, and had big enough firms. It's difficult for firms to take apprentices on now. You've got these schemes where kids finish at 16. Perhaps they're not totally academically bent. So from 16 to 18, they're in these sort of halfway house technical college type places doing courses. Realistically, a lot of them, to my mind, would be better. But you need the companies. You need big companies to be general. How are you going to get these big companies? Where are these big companies that's going to do that? It says we need modern childcare as opposed to old-fashioned childcare. He says we need a new deal. There's that word again, new. He says we need a new deal to make work pay. I think that should be to make work pay sufficiently to beat what you can get by being on the benefit system. For a lot of people. I just think this is just pie in the sky, heard it before. He's just trying to mask it by these missions and give you this formula of measurable goals. We heard it all with Blair. Everything would be measured. And for a few years it did. Because they were measuring in it, they squeezed it out and squeezed it out and squeezed it out. and then it was just coming out somewhere else. Yeah, the times in casualty are lower. And by the way, we didn't measure the times of people sitting in ambulances. So, okay, we need to have a goal for people sitting in ambulances. Shit. Let's drive them around to Sid's Cafe and park them in there. Times in the ambulances have come down. Yeah, Sid's Cafe is full of people on stretchers. It's a classic gaming of the system. He can't be held responsible for that. He's there trying to direct the whole thing. I agree with what he's saying, but I just think a lot of it is just wishy-washy. He says we need to seize the opportunity of science. Okay. Reform planning systems, I believe that would be like for, I'm not too sure if it was a housing or building or for economic zones and stuff like that. And we need to have a business banking system. This was one of his 10 pledges, by the way, business banking system. We need to tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev. We need to tear down the barriers to investment. Barriers to investment are high taxation, restrictively. These are, I'm just telling you, restrictive labour practices, low productivity. Market share. How do you deal with that when you're on the other side of the Brexit war, where you need new markets there? Businesses will come where they can best show profit. That's always been the case since day one in Babylon, in the market store. Somebody says, you fancy coming across the Kairos? Nobody sells yo-yos across there. Yeah, I'll get across there. Get them yo-yos soon. I've not to have yo-yos in Baghdad. He says, I jumped the gun there, didn't I? He says we need to fix Brexit. H-O-W. How? He was on the Labour team with the double barrels lady. I cannot remember her name. Hewley Bailey or Bailey Smith or something. Apologies to the lady. I know it's like a double barrel one, but I cannot remember her name. She comes from Manchester, Liverpool area. Where it was her and Starmer were like a double act during the Brexit negotiations. Says we need to have a bill to take back control. Take back control. Yeah, I can take it back. Says there's chaos and the certainty, and he wants the businesses to have certainty. He says businesses are fine with high taxes as long as they know that they're certain that they'll. I got the impression that it means that they won't go even higher. 25% taxes are okay for companies when other places have got 15. Yeah, of course they'll come here. Really? Do you think so? Says all of the policies that the new missions will have will be, they'll all be fully costed. We'll use fiscal rules that are sound, and we'll follow them rigorously. Okay. And he gives the Tories another good kicking. The rock of stagnation and the hard place of economic recklessness. And meaningless. And rock, stagnation, economic reckless, hard place. Okay, right, whatever. The 5 mission driven. mission-driven government. It's a mission-driven government. What is it? It's a mission-driven. It's 5 mission-driven. It's a mission-driven government. We'll deal with immigration and asylum. It was just like a 125 train gone through it, one of them when you had a little station. Didn't say anything about numbers. It didn't say where the jobs were going to come for the 150, 160,000 people that's already here. It didn't say how, because Sunak is now doing it, basically he's just handing out visas. You know, can you write a name? Yeah, there you've got a visa. You can stay. Once you get a visa, you can then bring your family across. So this 150,000 people that's here, I would say you can. Would anybody say that it would be unrealistic to double that, or maybe even triple it? Just say double it for round numbers. So you're looking at 250,000 people extra in the UK. Where's the jobs for these people? Is the government going to support them? Is the government going to house them once they've been given leave to stay, the right to stay? He didn't mention any of that. He wants to back Ukraine. He's the same as Sunak. He's the same as Trustmeisters. He's the same as Johnson. They're all the same. There's no thought to try and find a peace deal. There's no acceptance that this is costing Britain money. It's costing people in Ukraine and Russia people's lives. That's why I believe we should try and stop the war. But it just doesn't seem to grasp that this money tree just seems to be sprouting pound notes at an ever increasing rate, and we're giving it away. You can argue the rights and wrongs of we're supporting people in Ukraine. But if it's good enough for people in Ukraine, then can the money tree not give money to people in the UK? You know, go to the back of this 7,200,000 people in the NHS and say, would you rather the money that could treat you go on you or go to Ukraine? You see, that's really hard. That's really hard and cynical and poor people in Ukraine. And it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. What's happening in Ukraine is terrible. But I'm just saying, if you can do it for people in Ukraine, then you can do it for people in Britain. Sure. When he finished his speech, some of the reporters got up and he mentioned something about homeless people. This is not my thought, but I've heard it other people saying it. If there's migrants, illegal migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, pick a term that you feel comfortable with, ending up in the UK and they're living in hotels, why are you undertaking people that's living on the street and putting them into hotels?